Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Beyond the Gates channel. Hope you're having a wonderful day. Before we begin, don't forget to subscribe and hit like for more daily drama updates and spoilers. Your support truly means a lot and helps our channel grow every day. Now, let's jump straight into today's exciting update. Friday's chapter of Beyond the Gates arrives wrapped in tension, heartbreak, and unsettling mystery as emotions simmer beneath the surface before threatening to erupt all at once. In Fairmont Crest, relationships that once felt steady begin to wobble under the weight of insecurity. Long-buried secrets refuse to stay hidden, and unexpected returns send ripples through lives that were only beginning to find their balance. Every conversation carries a hidden meaning, every glance feels loaded with emotion, and every decision has the power to change someone's future forever. As old wounds reopen and new dangers quietly emerge from the shadows, the people of Fairmont Crest are forced to confront feelings they can no longer ignore. Some will search desperately for reassurance, others will attempt to protect the people they love, while a few may be hiding motives far darker than anyone realizes. By the end of the day, jealousy, fear, and uncertainty will intertwine in ways that leave everyone questioning who they can truly trust. One of the most emotionally charged stories centers on Kat, who suddenly finds herself wrestling with feelings she never expected to experience. And at first glance, it may seem as though she's simply irritated by Chelsea's latest live stream, but beneath that frustration lies something far more personal and painful. The official spoilers for July 24th describe Kat as merely miffed, yet that word barely scratches the surface of what she's actually feeling. Deep inside, jealousy begins creeping into her heart, catching her completely off guard and forcing her to confront insecurities she thought she had under control. It all began when Chelsea asked her business partner to take over the Chelsea Cat social media account and openly discuss her recent transplant experience. Kat made it perfectly clear that she wanted no part of sharing such a deeply personal story herself, but she graciously gave Chelsea permission to ask Eva instead if she wished to tell her own journey. At the time, the decision seemed harmless enough, but no one could have predicted the emotional consequences that would soon follow. As Friday unfolds, that live stream suddenly takes on an entirely different meaning in Kat's eyes. What was intended as a heartfelt and inspiring conversation begins to look like something much more intimate, a genuine bonding experience between Chelsea and Eva. According to the weekly video preview, that growing connection becomes almost impossible for Kat to ignore, and every smile, every shared moment, and every expression of warmth chips away at her emotional defenses. Instead of seeing two people connecting through shared experiences, Kat begins seeing herself slowly being pushed aside. Her fears grow louder with every passing second until they become impossible to silence. In one heartbreaking moment from the promo, she voices the insecurity that has been quietly haunting her all along. Eva already won over my dad, my boyfriend, and now she finally got you too, Kat says, revealing just how isolated and vulnerable she truly feels. Those words expose far more than jealousy. They reveal the fear of losing the people she loves one by one, leaving Chelsea with the difficult task of calming the emotional storm before it grows into something neither of them can control. While Kat struggles with those painful emotions, another familiar face quietly returns to Fairmont Crest, bringing with her an entirely different kind of tension. Joey's sister Heather is back, and her arrival immediately raises more questions than answers. The last time the siblings stood face to face, Heather had approached Joey with the idea of working together once again, hoping they could join forces. That partnership never came to fruition, and with no agreement reached, Heather eventually returned to her home base in London. It seemed as though that chapter had come to a close, allowing everyone involved to move on with their lives. lives, but now she has returned unexpectedly, and this visit carries a very different tone. Heather calmly tells her older brother that she has come back because she needs to tie up a few loose ends, yet those simple words feel anything but reassuring. Considering Heather's shocking identity as the Impaler, her explanation immediately sends a chill through the air, transforming what should have been an ordinary family reunion into something filled with mystery, danger, and unmistakably ominous undertones. Her return suggests that unfinished business still lingers, and whatever she's planning may have consequences that extend far beyond her own family. Elsewhere, Vanessa steps in to offer comfort to Danny during one of the most emotionally exhausting periods of her life. Danny has been carrying an overwhelming burden for quite some time, and lately it seems as though every new revelation only adds more weight to her already troubled heart. Much of her emotional turmoil revolves around the reality of being a BRCA carrier, a subject that has become impossible to ignore after weighing heavily on Andre's mind. As if that weren't enough, Naomi recently confessed that she had been hiding a painful truth for months. She admitted that she is also a carrier, a revelation that leaves Danny struggling to process yet another devastating piece of family news. Layered on top of those worries is the persistent guilt that continues to haunt her after her night with Bill, a moment she cannot seem to put behind her no matter how hard she tries. Bill's ongoing health concerns only deepen her anxiety, creating an emotional whirlwind from which there appears to be no escape. Recognizing how overwhelmed Danny has become, Vanessa offers compassion, understanding, and a much-needed shoulder to lean on, reminding her that even in the darkest moments, no one should have to carry such enormous burdens alone. Meanwhile, another storyline quietly builds toward what could become a significant turning point for one family. Just as Elon and Isaiah finally begin making meaningful progress in strengthening their relationship, an entirely different responsibility pulls Elon in another direction. The police chief finds himself facing a conversation he never wanted to have with his son, Detective Jacob. Whatever news Elon is carrying is serious enough to weigh heavily on him before he even says a single word. As both a father and a law enforcement leader, he understands that some truths cannot be softened, no matter how much he wishes he could protect his son from them. Jacob, who has devoted himself to his work, may soon be forced to confront information that could dramatically alter his next steps, both professionally and personally. Naturally, the question becomes what exactly Elon needs to tell Jacob. If the discussion centers on police business, it may involve the undercover operation Marcel previously presented to him, an assignment carrying risks that could place Jacob directly in harm's way. Yet another possibility feels even more unsettling, with Heather back in town and her dangerous history as the Impaler casting a long shadow over Fairmont Crest. Elon may believe his detective son needs to be alerted immediately. Heather's return could signal that old threats are resurfacing, and if she truly is tying up loose ends, no one knows where those loose ends may lead. Elon may simply be trying to ensure Jacob is prepared before events spiral beyond anyone's control. As Friday's episode races toward its conclusion, jealousy threatens cherished relationships, emotional wounds continue to deepen, dangerous secrets begin creeping back into the light, and the return of a mysterious figure hints that an even darker chapter may be about to unfold. In Fairmont Crest, nothing stays buried forever, and by the time the dust settles, every character may find themselves standing on the edge of life-changing consequences. The emotional aftershocks of Friday's events refuse to fade as the atmosphere across Fairmont Crest grows increasingly heavy, leaving every character standing at a crossroads where emotions threaten to overpower reason. What initially appeared to be a simple misunderstanding begins evolving into something much more complicated, because the deepest conflicts are rarely born from anger alone. They are born from fear, For Kat, that fear is becoming impossible to hide. She has spent so much time convincing herself that everything around her was secure, only to watch one meaningful connection after another seem to drift toward Eva. Whether those fears are justified or simply the product of her own insecurities hardly matters anymore, because to Kat, the pain feels painfully real. The more she reflects on everything that has happened over the past several weeks, the more every interaction begins fitting into a narrative she never wanted to believe. That emotional spiral threatens to cloud her judgment, making every smile between Chelsea and Eva feel less like friendship and more like another reminder that she is slowly losing her place in the lives of the people she loves. Chelsea, meanwhile, is likely to realize almost immediately that the live stream accomplished something she never intended. Her goal had always been to give Eva an opportunity to share an inspiring story about resilience and recovery after her transplant experience. She believed that opening the platform to someone else's journey could encourage others facing similar struggles while allowing Eva to be heard. The last thing Chelsea expected was for Kat to interpret the heartfelt conversation as evidence that she was being replaced. Yet once Kat's emotions spill into the open, Chelsea finds herself in the difficult position of trying to repair damage she never meant to cause. She understands how deeply loyalty matters to Kat, and she also recognizes that reassurance cannot simply come through words alone. If she hopes to ease her friend's fears, she'll need to prove through her actions that there is room in her heart for both Eva and Kat, because friendship should never have to become a competition for affection or acceptance. Even so, Kat's emotional confession reveals something much deeper than a disagreement over a live stream. Her haunting words about Eva winning over her father, her boyfriend, and now Chelsea expose years of accumulated insecurity bubbling to the surface all at once. Those fears didn't begin with one social media broadcast, nor did they appear overnight. Instead, they have quietly grown with every moment Kat perceived herself standing in someone else's shadow, every occasion where Eva seemed to effortlessly earn trust and admiration from the people around her. Friday simply becomes the moment when those buried emotions can no longer remain hidden. Instead of pretending everything is fine, Kat finally allows her vulnerability to show, and although the truth may be painful, it also creates an opportunity for healing, provided the people closest to her recognize just how desperately she needs reassurance before those insecurities harden into resentment. While one relationship struggles to survive emotional uncertainty, another storyline quietly descends into something far more dangerous. Heather's return continues casting an unsettling shadow over Fairmont Crest, and the more her arrival sinks in, the harder it becomes to ignore the threat she represents. Her explanation about returning to tie up loose ends may have sounded calm on the surface, but every word carries an unmistakable sense of foreboding. Joey knows his sister well enough to understand that Heather rarely makes a move without purpose, and that knowledge alone is enough to keep him on edge. Her history as the Impaler transforms even the simplest conversation into something laced with suspicion, because ordinary explanations no longer feel believable where Heather is concerned. Every step she takes now invites another question, and every unanswered question increases the feeling that something dangerous is quietly unfolding behind the scenes. The uncertainty surrounding Heather's motives also creates a growing sense of urgency for law enforcement. If Elon has indeed connected Heather's return to potential criminal activity, then his conversation with Jacob becomes much more than a routine discussion between a police chief and his detective son. It becomes the kind of conversation no parent ever wants to have, where professional responsibility collides painfully with personal concern. Elon understands the risks that accompany every investigation, but knowing that his own son could become directly involved makes the burden significantly heavier. Whether he is warning Jacob about Marcel's proposed undercover operation, alerting him to Heather's presence, or preparing him for an entirely different threat, one thing becomes abundantly clear: danger may be closer than anyone realizes. The responsibility resting on Jacob's shoulders could soon become greater than ever before, forcing him to make decisions that test not only his skills as a detective, but also his courage as a son determined to do the right thing. At the same time, Danny continues navigating an emotional journey that feels increasingly overwhelming with every passing hour. Learning more about her family's BRCA history has forced her to confront difficult realities she never imagined facing, while Naomi's long-hidden confession has only complicated an already heartbreaking situation. The knowledge that both of them share the same burden reshapes the way Danny sees her future, filling her thoughts with uncertainty and difficult questions that have no easy answers. Yet even as she wrestles with those fears, she cannot escape the lingering guilt surrounding her night with Bill. Every memory resurfaces alongside fresh worries about Bill's declining health, creating an emotional weight that seems almost impossible to carry alone. Vanessa's compassion, therefore, becomes more than a comforting gesture. It becomes a lifeline, reminding Danny that strength does not always mean enduring pain in silence, and that sometimes healing begins by allowing someone else to stand beside you through the darkness. By the time Friday's dramatic chapter reaches its final moments, Fairmont Crest feels like a community holding its collective breath. Jealous hearts search for reassurance, dangerous figures move quietly through the shadows, families struggle beneath the weight of painful truths, and law enforcement braces for challenges that may soon put lives at risk. Every storyline leaves behind unanswered questions, ensuring that the emotional tension lingers long after the episode comes to an end. Friendships will be tested, loyalties may shift, hidden motives will continue surfacing, and the return of a familiar face promises consequences that are only beginning to unfold. What starts as a day filled with uncomfortable conversations gradually transforms into the opening act of something much larger, proving once again that in Fairmont Crest, every emotional crack has the potential to become an earthquake. And as these lives continue colliding in unexpected ways, viewers are left with the unmistakable feeling that the biggest surprises and perhaps the greatest dangers are still waiting just beyond the horizon.